Hi everybody, Darren Pratney here at the Blink podcast. Hey, it is so exciting to see you with us today, and I certainly know that being in episode one, the topic we have today is, I know, one that is going to be of interest to a lot of people out there, and certainly going to be important in the plan ahead for where we need to be going, especially around our good friend COVID. I also want to welcome in my good friend Jonathan Creek. Jonathan, come on board, mate. It's great to see you across the ditch
Darren.
in Australia.
How are you? And just clarifying, that podcast is called Blink, not Blank, just in case you got confused by the accent if you're in Australia. But
we start with that already, are we? Is that what we're starting with? Is it?
well, I think that's going to be the purebred nature of this podcast. I don't think being Kiwi and Australian we can avoid it, can we?
No, that's true. That's true. All right, I'll pick you up when I can. How you been, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of challenges going on in the world, and I think as we get closer to what they term or coin Freedom Day, it's really weird. I thought, 3 or 4 months ago, I was thinking about Freedom Day and getting out and being vaccinated and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, okay, let's go and jump right into it. But as we get closer, there's a lot more uncertainty. There's a lot more emotions going around. I think it's not as clean or as pure as people think. I think there's just a lot of confusion and a lot of unknowns affecting people at the moment.
So we're in a situation over here where I'm based in Auckland, and we're just 9 weeks in lockdown, and this is a situation where we've been told it's going to be a short, sharp snap, and I think you were telling me that was similar to the messaging that you got right at the start as well. And sort of New Zealand's been divided up a wee bit, where the Auckland region and top of the North Island has been sort of locked down pretty tight, whereas the rest of our country has been at what we call level 2, which is a little bit easier. So, we are all at different levels. There's a lot of indecision. There's a lot of nervousness about what potentially getting back to normal looks like, and we're being really held up by our COVID immunisation numbers, and I think that's still going to restrict us until that number gets higher enough to give the government confidence for us to be able to get out. And I think, with what's happening in Sydney, I think they've already sort of got themselves to a target and have opened the doors.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think that here in Melbourne, we're the most locked down in the world champions, yay. National champions, highest numbers recorded. But for Sydney, who relatively pretty much last year didn't get locked down at all, and then this year popped up with some cases a couple of weeks after we just got out of a lockdown. That escape only lasted 5 days, and that's another emotional burden for people to carry, is that you go through a 4 or 5 week lockdown, you get released, and then 5 days later you're back in lockdown.
Yeah, totally.
Sydney went into that one with us. We'd been vaccinating a lot earlier, a lot sooner as a state, and yet Sydney's reached the targets for release, the 70% and 80% targets that the government set for first dose and second dose. They've reached it first and beaten us out. And while I'm happy for the people of Sydney and I celebrate their efforts and appreciate how good it must feel for them to have some easing of the restrictions. I mean, we call it Freedom Day. It's not complete Freedom Day. It's just more freedoms, I think is the best way to put it. But we celebrate their freedom, but with a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouth, maybe directed towards our leaders and others who controlled our scenario. And it's like, well, why didn't we get there first? Like, why have we had to endure 300 days of lockdown? They've endured 100. We've endured 300, yet we're still not getting vaccinated at the rate they got done. And that's hurting businesses. This is real life scenarios. There are people who sadly are probably not going to survive. This is probably pretty morbid for episode 1, Darren, but they say that the mental health impacts have been massive. You look at the mental health impacts of what happens to people over 100 days and the way they're celebrating those smaller freedoms now. We're at 300 days, and I can't help but think, how many people didn't make it through those extra 200 days? And then that has to really be pinpointed down to the management of it.
Yep, absolutely. And I think for me, like with this comes a whole lot of challenges as we all adapt to different messages, different noise. Are we in? Are we out? It's really putting a lot of pressure on us along that space. And that's why I thought today, in terms of the topic, that I think we should maybe explore the whole COVID thing. But I've got a little bit of a framework that I'd like to get you to work through with me. And it's simply just having a think about the COVID in your business from a skill set, mindset, and then also a systems perspective, because I think if you focus on those three areas with any of these sort of crises, it gives you a bit more of clarity and a bit more of a plan. So I just think it's something that we could maybe have a bit of a discussion about, because I think number one for me is around that mindset is one of the toughest and probably what has been one of the most challenging areas in this whole COVID, just the coping of the COVID impact in our business world. And I certainly know you've felt that within Melbourne as well.
Yeah, I think with COVID, not just here in Australia and New Zealand, but worldwide, I think we've seen a couple of things happen. I think it's seen a rapid adaptation to technology and uptake.
Yes.
And so that's really changed the game, the way that mass numbers of people have been forced to adopt technology that probably, if we just let it trickle along how it was going to take 3 or 4 years. We've seen that happen in 3 or 4 months. So the game's changed, and then COVID's come along and changed the rules. And so when it comes to business,
I've got real estate offices, mate, that are now doing auctions, their whole auction program live on Zoom. So just basically, they never ever considered that they would be doing auctions anything other than either in the room or at the property. But now in a situation where, because of having to, now doing their auctions by Zoom and actually realizing how successful they are. So I think using that whole technology piece has definitely made a big, big impact in many people's businesses.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm going in and out of, well, not going in and out of, but doing virtual tours of real estate agencies and their setups. I get called upon to help with studio setups of lighting and technology, because that's sort of where I sit in this live streaming sort of space, and how can we adopt that or adapt that to real estate. I mean, Melbourne's pretty well known as being an auction capital of Australia, probably pretty much an auction capital on the planet. We seem to like to do things in extremes. But I think the weekend just gone, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, we're recording this early October. The weekend just gone, Melbourne had 1,200 auctions. Properties go to auction. Every one of them online, with a clearance rate of 80%.
How good is that?
And an increased market value of somewhere around 12% increase on value. So it's not stopping people from spending. In fact, if you were to read pure data, you'd say that people like it more.
Yeah.
And maybe...
Well, we're in a situation with that, with the conflict and the lack of stock and the competition for properties, that's, prices are being pushed, and using the auction format online still, it's still getting incredible prices. And for a property market that they're trying to slow up, it certainly doesn't seem to be having that effect at the moment. That's for sure for you.
So let's approach the mindset piece that you mentioned. And I'll just throw this at you, and you just answer it how you believe it to be, to have been. If I'd come to you 20 months ago, maybe if I'd come to you 14 months ago and said, Darren, I know you want to sell your house, but we can't do live auctions. We're gonna sell it on the internet over a live stream. What do you reckon?
I think you'd have had situations where most vendors would have gone, that's not for me. That's not the way real estate's sold. That's not the way we do it. It's very much now you're taking me outside my comfort zone as a vendor, and I wouldn't really be comfortable with that.
You wouldn't be comfortable with being able to get the price?
I'm not sure whether it's about the price or not. It's just, as a vendor, I'm not sure I'm comfortable. So with the COVID effect having kicked into gear, I think what we've realised now is that this whole technology piece has educated the consumer to feel more comfortable around using technology, which now brings the ability for us to bring technology like this into selling homes. Is the customer is already attuned to it, they're comfortable with it, and they understand that's the way of the future. And I think that's been a real positive for the industry, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think from my mindset, I think that's been definitely an eye opener. The properties are selling. Properties are selling online at a rate that we never imagined. We always thought there'd be a bit of a hit. I think the missing piece for me is we haven't seen the market out the other side.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen whether the online, let's call them Zoom auctions or online auctions, we haven't seen whether that's just reflecting a marketplace. I mean, we may get out.
Right now. Yeah.
We may get out on the 26th of October or 5th of November or whatever it is. Let's think about, the market's usually pretty hot here in February. So maybe we get to February 2022 and house prices go up and jump another 20, 30%. And then all of a sudden we can look back and go, well, you know what? The people who did sell online missed out on a bit.
Yeah.
If we were to assess it here right now, we're sitting here going, well, actually, they seem to be doing pretty good based on the numbers. Like things, the curve's going this way. But maybe February next year, a couple of weeks into February, we're going to realise we're going to have the full picture.
But you got to understand, over here we've got a regulatory environment or a government environment, central government, that are trying to slow house prices. So they're trying to be active in slowing house price gains. So we've had interest rates starting to increase, which is the first time that's happened in a very long time. We've got record low interest rates. So with that happening, we're in a situation where the ability to buy a property now, secure some low interest rates before rates continue to go up. It's creating even more of a firestorm around that space. So you start adding the ability to create the marketplace to still function using the technology right now, and the consumers are getting more upskilled about how to do it and why they should be doing it. I think you've definitely changed this real estate market for good. I think this is going to absolutely drive our consumers now more into that digital space, which, as we talk about in terms of mindset, is we've got to get more comfortable with using it. We've got to get our teams to be more conscious of how important it is to have that digital footprint exactly right, because that's your shop window now. And I think that getting good support, getting some help around how it looks, what the messaging needs to look like, and how you engage with your customers on that platform, I think is a really critical mindset to get your head around.
I think there's two things that I want to raise in mindset. I think the next stage comes with some, it's not anticipation, but some anxiousness around the fact that maybe there's a whole lot of vendors holding off. And when we come out, there's going to be a flood of property. I know that there's real estate agents around me at the moment that are offering upfront cash.
Yeah.
In the guerrilla stages, now a guerrilla's $1,000 or higher, to list your property with them. They're saying, here you go, we'll give you $1,000 worth of shopping vouchers just to list your property.
Yeah.
Now, I've never seen that before. I think that's staggering. It's a staggering move. So there's one thing to play on, which is playing on people's minds. Grab your price now, because when we open up, there might be a flood of stock, and then your house is just one of many. So you're competing. You don't have the clear airspace that you could have at the moment. The second one that I think of as a customer is I think back to when I was buying my house and in the auction market. And Darren, you may not believe this, but despite my sharp skills in the bidding process, I was the underbidder at 7 auctions before I was able to secure this house. And I fought tooth and nail. But in this environment, I think back and I think of the properties that I missed out on visiting because they were auctioning at the same time, and I had to make a choice of which one was a priority. Now, in this online world, I could sit here and watch 2, 3, 4 auctions running at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, mate.
The risk is you could end up buying 4 houses accident. 4 houses in one go.
Don't move your hands.
That's right.
No, I get it. And look, this is the piece where I think we've just got to be conscious that the picking of what the market's going to do, where we're going, what it's going to look like isn't easy to pick. But I certainly think that the opportunity of more listings coming to market, being prepared better, being positioned better, I think is, and regardless of your industry, really. I mean, I do, work in the automotive space, do work in financial services, all of those industries. I think when you start coming out of where we're at the moment, I see there's all of those have got great opportunity to engage the customer and make sure that we transact with them in the way that they're now used to and comfortable with.
Could you imagine? I think about my grandfather. He was a doyen of industry here in Melbourne. He ran CEO of massive companies, managing director of massive companies. If I'd sat him down and said, hey, Gramps, or GP, as we used to call him, hey, GP, by the year 2020, people are going to be buying houses and cars without ever walking through the house or driving the car. He would have slapped me. He would have
said, "You're insane, boy."
He would have wake up, stupid. Wake up, stupid. You're dreaming, right? Serious.
Let's be careful. Hey, Cricket, you know what I say though. You be careful about what you predict for the next 10 years, mate. What we think and what we don't think will happen is probably going to be incorrect as well, because the speed of this change that we're seeing is just exponential. And I think as we go down the path, I think we've just got to be really, really conscious that, hey, our mindset has to be, hey, we've got to adapt, we've got to be willing to change, we've got to be willing to learn. And no matter what age you are now, the ability to stop for a moment, relearn, retrain, develop some new skills, which leads me into my next topic, which is the skill set, has got to be something we're going to be focusing on. Because for me right now, what I'm seeing is those that are developing their skills and getting better at what they do become more in demand. And I think, our discussions we've had previously about some of your clients, those that are developing their skills around, certain areas of their business, give them a head start and a jump against their competition. And I think that's where the game is really going now, isn't it? It's that skill development.
Yeah, I think there's a term that I like. Technology will never replace a real estate agent, but a real estate agent who doesn't adopt technology will be replaced. I think the shell is cracked. The chest is cracked open. There's limiting beliefs have been destroyed, clearly destroyed, in many areas. Car, automotive, house buying. I mean, your house is your biggest purchase of your life, and people are doing it without even seeing their homes. It's madness. So,
but that's where I think, Jonathan, in terms of developing your skills, like no matter what age you are now, like I've got some of these young crew coming into the industry now. Now, their ability to understand technology, the ability to hold up their phone in front of their face, be able to talk live on Facebook, or be able to connect on Instagram with their communities and develop customers out of that form of marketing, that's just skill, right? That's just learned skill and practicing it over a period of time to the point of being able to be confident enough to use it on a daily basis within their business. And, I've got some other agents who, struggle still to open their mobile phone, and this is the challenge that we've got. We've got this new breed coming into the industry with all these new skills, and potentially some of the older crew that are not prepared or haven't stopped and taken some time to develop their skills or retrain in some of these key areas to really give their businesses a real relevance in the years ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a massive demand on reskilling, upskilling, and let me tell you why I think it's really important that particularly real estate agents at the moment need to be thinking about this, because here's the reality of the scenario. The reality of the scenario is that right now houses are almost selling themselves. Right, they're in a boom, right? So real estate agents are like, I'm making my commission, I'm hitting my targets, everything's fine. Right? Why do extra? Because guess what? We know that real estate goes in ebbs and flows. We know it goes in cycles, and pretty soon, you're already talking about interest rates going up. You're talking about regulatory impositions that are looking to drive the prices of houses down. Guess who that affects? That affects the person buying the house, and it also affects the amount of money you get for your commission for your 2 or 3%. So unless you get smarter at how you buy and sell and nurture a community at scale, and the only place you can do it at scale is via social media and what we're starting to call Web 3.0. But that,
and I'm interested in that Web 3.0 because we've obviously talked about it a bit now, and I'm only just starting to see the arrival of some of those components of Web 3.0. And again, this is where I come back to that skill part, because this is the learning piece that you've got to do to develop that skill. And I just want to keep emphasizing to our listeners today is that there's got to be a commitment to keep learning. You can't just finish your university degree and say, right, that's the last bit of learning that I'm going to do in my business career. It's now got to be a consistent method moving forward, and just getting some ideas about how do you get better and better and better at what you do, and be aware of those new technologies, new systems, new processes. And that's what's going to take your business up into the future with some real power and some real strength. And that's why I wanted to really just get you thinking about that skill set, because I know you push that pretty hard with the teams that you work with as well.
Yeah, I do. I really do. And you know, I'll give our listeners episode 1. We're all about giving the gold. Let me put this to you at the moment. How often do you hear real estate owners, business owners complain about how hard it is nowadays to get an audience out of Facebook ads?
Totally.
Getting
all the
harder.
time.
4 years ago, you'd put $100 into Facebook, you could build a massive business on the back of it. And I was one of those people. I've run online courses, online programs. All my leads came from Facebook ads. If you think that that's hard now, if you think that that's got harder, wait for Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is all about the governments regulating the amount of data and privacy and retargeting that you can do with cookies. You would have gone to websites and said, do you accept the cookies because we're tracking? And you think you're empowering yourself and flexing on your right to privacy, and you're saying no cookies, no cookies, no cookies, don't track me. And every time you do that, you're making it harder and harder for someone to sell you something that you probably want. That's the point. The way the internet works at the moment is that it picks up all your database. It picks up all your data points, the things you're talking about, the things you're typing about. Yes, they're listening. And as a marketer, I think it's amazing because it allows me and other businesses like mine to deliver you a product that can really help you at the time. That's what it's about. Web 3.0 is going to peel that back. So the skill sets where you're going to have to really refine yourself is going to come down to storytelling, hijacking attention, holding attention, triggering a reaction so that you get engagement, so that you then can access the permissions to engage with your audience. And here's the thing. If you struggle nowadays, you're talking about people who are struggling to open their phones, and you've got the younger kids who are all over Instagram and can do it freely and openly. The only reason the kids who are younger do it freely and openly is because they've tried it and they've got through the fear factor, and they're just doing it through use and effort and work.
And can I say the word practice? Can I say that word practice? Because most of these kids have practiced and used it and had all their friends critiquing their own videos and giving them information and how to improve and get better and better. And as you say, they get to a point where they feel so confident around that space that it's just automatic. And I think that there is a really key learning for us today, is to take that sense of, hey, we might not feel comfortable, it might not be easy, but just the ability to practice and learn it will actually take away some of those fears.
Well, here's the point. If you're struggling to connect with people with your storytelling today, it's going to be near impossible to do it tomorrow or into the future when things like virtual reality and augmented reality and all those other elements come into play. Now, video, I refer to video as 2D. That's 2D storytelling. That's me telling the audience a story, and if I do it to the ability where it triggers a response, I either get a comment, a like, a share, I get some sort of connection and engagement. Now, take that 2D storytelling into a 3D environment, it makes it 33% more complicated.
Yeah.
33% more demand on stimulation for the audience. Right? So it complicates it again. So if here's where I'm going to stuff this up. Here's where the clock is ticking for these people, Darren. Time is running out. You need to learn how to tell basic stories so that you can practice and do the work and get better, so that when you need to tell 3D stories or do virtual tours of homes or do things like we've been going through, you're already advanced along the path. You're never going to jump from never doing it to then telling awesome virtual reality based or augmented reality based stories, right? You can't jump that bridge. It's too big.
And I think no matter, you look in life and in terms of any skill we have, that's the whole piece, right? Is the ability, you pick up a skill, you practice it, you get better at it, and that skill over time can become more complex and more difficult. But there is a stepping stone process to follow. And I think to getting our listeners to be really clear of exactly what is the journey and what are the things that they're working on right now to develop their skill set. Because I think that leads into the third one, which is the systems, the business systems and the business structures that we need to have to work. Because I think with this COVID environment, what it's really done is given people some time to actually stop for a moment, get out of their business for a bit, have a look at it from a distance and actually realize, hey, there's some really key areas of my business that I have to repair, fix, or I actually have to build in terms of systems that actually would make their businesses more effective and more efficient and create better results. But because they've been so busy doing the doing, they haven't actually had the time to build the systems and the infrastructure that they need to run their businesses more effectively. So I think in terms of this COVID space, if you've got a chance to stop for a moment, review practical systems in your business to go, actually, what systems am I running? Am I running any? And actually start to put some things in place that make your business run more effectively is the best way to push yourself through this COVID-affected timeframe.
Yeah, I think there's some dark web commentary. Not that I spend a lot of time on the dark web, Darren, but I've got to look at all the areas and consider all options. But there's a lot of commentary around the crypto environment and also with COVID and vaccinations and sometimes even in the conspiracy theory space, where they're calling this the Great Reset. They're calling this moment in the world the Great Reset. And I think for a lot of businesses, particularly those who are agile enough, I tend to say small to medium, but it's not. Yeah. It's actually those who are agile enough to take this opportunity and say, this is.
I don't think that's size. I don't think that's size driven. Hey, I'm just going, regardless of size, are you agile enough to be able to move and to build and to change and to repair and to fix these systems to get your business back into the racetrack that it needs to be on?
Yeah. Take the opportunity to reset. Look at the world that you're actually in today, not the way that you used to operate and continue to operate because that's the way you've always done it. I mean, I walk in there and I walk into companies and I'll do some I'll do sessions here and there, and usually by about the first and second sessions are pretty good. I get engagement, people buying. By the third session, you usually get someone who says, well, that's just the way we've always done it. And that's the moment that we're trying to hit on here, is that the world has changed.
Yeah.
The rules have changed. And what I'd be asking any CEO or business owner is, what are you doing to keep up with the change that's happening? What changes are you making to ensure that you're staying up with the rate of change that's occurring outside your bubble? Because if you're in a bubble and you're refusing to change, then there's nothing that can save you. Like your business from today, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, if you don't change, you don't have a business. That's my belief. That's where we're talking about predictions.
Yeah, totally.
You are not going to be, no one can save you unless you implement change from this point. That's how much things have changed in the world and how fast they're going.
So when it comes to these 3 areas, so your mindset, your skill set, and your systems, if we just go through those very quickly and just what are some practical things that you would consider or you would recommend or you would look at when it comes to mindset for employers or teams at the moment? What do you reckon that the key areas around mindset are at the moment?
I think there's been some really key things that have come out of this whole scenario, particularly here in Melbourne, where the CBD is a ghost town. If anyone's ever been to the beautiful city of Melbourne, forget it. It's gone. It's gone. It is tumbleweeds. It stinks. It's rotten. No, seriously, it is like a zombie apocalypse in there. The only people that you really see, sadly, are the homeless who don't want to be rehoused. They've just taken over everywhere because, the front doors of shopping centres and stuff, it's all just full of these poor people who, obviously there's also a rush of them too because there's so many people losing jobs. But I think what this has taught us is that things have changed. And for your mindset, you need to be in the mindset of change. You need to be ready and willing to accept change because things have changed.
But Jonathan, like the good old human psyche is that we don't want to change. We don't want to change. We don't want to we're comfortable in that comfort zone, and being pushed the way we are around that mindset piece. Give me 3 things around mindset that you think are really important for people to be doing, for actually doing right now. So I'm looking for action items, right? And I want to know, what do you reckon to improve that mindset space right now? I think what you've said, what you were saying there is you've got to accept the change is part of where we're at. We're not going to go back, and we've got to move ourselves forward. So having that mindset of number one, accepting changes here, and you've got to go with it.
Yeah, I think probably to put it most simply is you've got to accept that change is here, and change actually means opportunity. So don't look at it negatively. Don't resent it. I mean, you and I, if we're going to be honest with our listeners, and I think we should be, and our viewers, is that you and I have been a little bit resistant to this whole virtual speaking world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something.
Well, most of our up to date, isn't it? We are most effective. Well, so we've been led to believe by our customers that we're really effective in the room. We do an amazing presentation. We do bring a lot of energy to our environments, and that's what we're told. But actually, for you and I to be able to get better skilled and better up to speed on using different digital platforms has been our skill development for us. But boy, oh boy, it gives us more opportunity.
I think for me, I'll be honest, I think it's ego. I get a lot more feedback and a lot more love out of doing a live event than doing a virtual one. I mean, you do a virtual keynote and you do your hour and you say, thanks, guys, and you wave, and a few people wave on Zoom, and there's a couple of people doing other things and playing with their Rubik's Cubes and all that sort of stuff. And you're like, well, I don't really know what they got out of that. I don't really know if I connected. Right, so you go, oh, that was a bit of a downer. Where if you do it live and you do a good job, you get the feedback, or even a bad job, you get the feedback instantly. You get that emotional boost. So for mindset, and what we're in the scenario now is get ready for change and opportunity. Get yourself ready for that. 2,
go.
Number 2, don't lock yourself into one way. I think Bruce Lee said it best: be water.
Yeah.
Don't lock yourself into one way of operating. Don't be stoic. It's not a time for it. Now's a time to be saying, no problems. We can do it that way, and then you work it out. Like most people are smart. They can work it out, and there's a lot of things in your head. The 3rd action around mindset for me would be don't forget about your telephone. Yeah. Don't risk just because you're separated physically, separating from people physically. I don't know if that even makes sense. But use your phone to connect to people in your network. Just don't sit in your home office or your work from home environment and think, oh, well, I'm just here and I'll just do my work and then I can go and walk the dog and there's a bit of freedoms and I can sleep in a little bit more and all that sort of stuff. Don't fall into the trap of adopting this work from home lifestyle. And I've got to understand that I've been working from home since 2013. I've been in this room working every day since 2013. And the biggest mistake I made in the first 12 months is that by being here and doing my work, I started to enjoy the solitude. Yeah. And your network is your net worth. I think Tony Robbins says that. Your network is your net worth. So force yourself in your mind to set a period of time aside every day, an hour, where you ring as many people as you can. I try and ring 10 people. Love it.
And that's my catch cry, mate. It's that's the 10 calls a day that I really focus on and get people to really make a commitment to, because those 10 connects a day is what builds your business. So, I think
I did not know that. So it's good to know the great minds think alike.
Yeah. So, and that's what helps your mindset, right? Being able to connect, being able to have conversations, getting ideas, being able to see ways you can help different people. It is a great way of being really strong and improving your resilience in that mindset space. So really, really important.
Yeah, I think it is. So let's move on to, now I'm just trying to rack my brain. I've had a blank. Skill set, Darren. You give us three. You give me three. Give us, the listeners, three in the skill set zone.
So the three things for me is identify 2 or 3 skills that you want to be better at that will make your job easier and you'll be better at. So just identify 2 or 3 skills that actually will make you better. And then what I want you to do is to actually go, whether it's onto YouTube or just go online and do some research about what is the things that I can do, I can practice, I can learn to improve my skills in that particular area. And I often do this to salespeople and just say, if you know this is your product, you are supposed to be an absolute specialist in this product. If you don't know enough about that product to be the absolute guru of the product, please just go and find out about it, learn more about it, update yourself, become really knowledgeable and skilled at doing different parts of your business. Because if you do that, the third part for me, and that one is now just do the practice that's not in front of the customer. So these opportunities like right now give you a chance to do some practice, and it may be that you do role plays, that you do simulated transactions, that you work with other team members to actually practice these skills. So by the time we're let loose back out in the marketplace again, you have taken a big step up in your skill set. And I think if you focus on those areas and really deliver some really improved skill development, your business becomes easier. Your customers like you more, they trust you more, and they get a sense that you've got more value. So again, that's a really key area around skill set that I push quite a lot, and I really get my teams to do that practice to get better.
Yeah, I think there's some amazing points in there. I think the one point I wanted to make was that, if you lived here in Melbourne, if you lived middle class Melbourne, and you're working from home, instead of having to go to the city and work in your office, you've now got yourself an extra 2 hours a day.
Yeah, totally.
Now, what could you do with that? What are you doing with that 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
Apply those 2 hours a day. In fact, just take one of those hours. One of those hours to apply to skills. The other one is to apply to mindset, where you're ringing your network. There's your 2 hours done, right? The second bit that I think is really important, and this sort of plays into mindset, it just to help people who may be a little bit struggling with this a little bit, or struggling with lockdown a little bit. One of the greatest ways to get yourself out of a funk, and I'm going to put my hand up, the last couple of days I've been in a massive funk of just like, I'm done. We're so close. We're 2 weeks, we're 3 weeks. I'm just going to sit tight. I'm going to just enjoy the fact that, my wife and kids are homeschooling outside, and I can deal with them and play with them and talk to them during the day, and I'm never ever going to get to spend this much time with my family ever again. So I'm just going to enjoy the next 2 weeks as much as I can. I'm not going to do anything. Like, that was my mindset. Yeah. But here's the flip side of that mindset. Like, so you can go 6 or 7 hours of your working day with that mindset. This is a personal experience. But by the time you reach 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you think back, oh, wow, what did I achieve today? And you've achieved nothing. Guess what happens? Yeah. You feel sick and you beat yourself up until you go to bed, and then you're laying there late at night going, oh my God, I'm a failure. I've wasted my day. I haven't achieved anything. I'm never going to be any good. So don't fall for the trap that because we're close, you just sit back. A great way to avoid that is to learn a new skill. Hone a skill. Because you can look back and go, I've gone from here in this knowledge point to here in this knowledge point. I've moved the needle. Even if you only move it a little bit, it's still an achievement, and it will save you from beating yourself up at night. It will save you that funk that so many people are getting caught on in this work from home scenario.
I love it. Very, very good. That's a great point. All right. Last
And
one.
also, and sorry, and also, yeah, we have got launch date coming up. Yours might be a little bit longer than ours, but it's not going to be that far away. And so get yourself ready, because once we launch, you're going to sit back and go, well, what did I do with the whole of lockdown? I mean, I've been battling with my website, as you know. I've been changing my website around and rewriting it and rewriting. I'm just procrastinating, Darren. I'm just procrastinating. I'm caught in the trap like everyone else. I'm human. You know,
of course.
You know, it's just crazy. So in terms of systems, are we going to hit on systems?
Yeah, I reckon systems is the one. Because I think this is, people go to me, oh, Darren, it's difficult to put systems in place. I don't know what about a system. I'm not a system designer. I don't know. They'll give you 457 excuses why they haven't built better systems in their business. And you know what? The simple part is, all I do is get them to get a big piece of paper like this, right? Just get a big piece of paper and just put number one. Simple as that. Because
start of a great system.
Yeah, because then what you start to do is just write down the page what you do and how you do it, right? Just whatever the topic is in your business, whatever the area is, just write down all of the steps that happen in that particular area, from 1 to 200, 1 to 50, 1 to 35, whatever the numbers are. And then what happens is you actually have now a system and a process list of the steps to do just about everything in your business. And you don't have to write these all at one time. You don't have to write them all yourself. But just by putting together some basic systems in your business, that when you've got people working with you, and as we talk about growing teams a little bit later, the ability to be able to go, hey, here is the system for doing this. Here's the system for doing that. Here's the system for what I need to take with me to go to this particular meeting or do this particular presentation. I've got those systems lined up in your business. And seriously, it is no more complicated than that. So I just really encourage you, just look at your business, get your teams to think about, well, we've got the chance to develop some new, more efficient systems and really help you to develop to get a better outcome in your business.
I also think that now, for people who don't know me, my focus is on content, communicating in mass communications, video, the adaptation of technology, and that sort of stuff. I think that's a really important thing. Like I'm a solopreneur. I run my own business. I don't have anyone else in my business, which then makes it very easy for me to be terrible at systems because I only hold myself accountable. Now, you're mentioning systems there and showing how simple it is, and I'm sitting here going, oh, wow, I should actually write down some systems, or maybe even a system or a process of how I start my day. Because here's a few things I prescribe to. If you're going to be posting video content, get up half an hour early and record it.
So what I'm saying to you is then just write the system for that, right? Because all I'm getting you to do is just to put the numbers down the side of the page. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. Turn the lights on here. I have this. I have that. I have this. You've got it all here. Now, anybody that comes into your business at any point in the future, you can simply go, here's my system for doing this. Can you please do this one, and this one for me?
Yeah. And I think what's really cool about systems, and at the points where I have used them, and I came in my corporate life from a very systemized business. There's no more systemized business than television broadcasting. Particularly journalism, because you've got to have this done by this time, by this time, by this time, by this time to meet your deadline at this second.
Sorry, why do they put that process in place? Because you've got a deadline that you can't miss, right? Mm. They don't go to you, hey, look, good luck with that. See how you go. Hope things go well. We'd love to see a great story at 6:00 tonight. But, we'll see how you go. They don't do that. They give you they do some very regimented time frames to make sure that you are going to meet that major deadline. And I don't think it should be any difference regardless of the size of your business, because that's what creates the efficiencies and success, right?
If you're a couple of seconds long, don't worry. We'll just play some elevator music and a test pattern. You'll be all right. I must tell you a story. I must share a story with you. I mean, stories are great things, but when I was I was a young reporter. I was actually in Adelaide doing my cadetship, and I think it was my first day over at Channel 7 in Adelaide working on a show called Today Tonight, which is like a foot in the door journalism type, chase the bad guys. And they gave me a story that happened that day about some kids who'd been attacked by a dog in a park. And it happened at like 4 o'clock. And it was like, right, you got to go make a 4-minute story on this. So go down there. I'm like, it's 4 o'clock. The editor's going to, and I started working backwards. I'm like, the editor's going to need at least half an hour to cut it. And even that's fast. It's going to take 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to get back. So that's another half an hour. So I've got an hour and a half, I've got 90 minutes on the ground to get it and write it. I'm like, this isn't going to happen. I can't do this. So anyway, I tried my hardest. And we got to the point where I'd written the story, someone had helped me write it, I'd filmed some interviews, and we were editing it, and I knew with the time running down, we're sitting at like 6:27, and I'm praying for the weather guy just to come up with some other story to stretch the weather out, right? Like, slow down, bro, you're reading the weather too fast, we're not going to get this cut. And I remember the poor editor, and he's a very good friend of mine now, but it was our first day working together, and he's just sweating bullets. Where's this shot? Where's that shot? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't shoot it. I was too busy. He's like, oh, man. And he was blowing up at me. And I'm like, what a great first day. And he got to the point where I said, listen, if you can just edit to that interview, I can go into the other edit suite and cut 2 shots together, which will cover the last voiceover. And he goes, you're a journalist. You don't know how to edit. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to work out how to do it. And so what we did was he cut to that point. I'd cut a bit in the other edit suite. And when it got to the end of that interview, live on air, we switched from one edit machine to the other edit machine, and I pushed play. And we rolled that out until they faded out to the host. It was the most gut-wrenching, nerve-wracking experience of my life. If I'd had a system, I would have said, right, I had 3 editors sitting there. I would have said, you cut that third, you cut that third, you cut that third, and we'll bring it all together in the end, and we'll be good. Oh my God, Darren, the power of systems and the grey hairs that can save you, I'm a big believer in them. I need to do better at them, and I think a lot of people out there need to do better at them. I think they take what they know and how they do things for granted because they've been doing them for so long.
Oh, and this is the part where I just want to, and we've probably got to that point in the session where I go, you look at these 3 areas: mindset, skill set, and systems. If you focus on those during this COVID period, we know it's tough. We know it's challenging. We know the indecision. But the big thing I've just got written down here on my piece of paper is take control of your own destiny. Take control of where you want to go. Yes, we are slowed down. Yes, we are working in different environments where there's a whole lot of stuff here that is challenging for us, but we have to take control. We don't want to fall into the Netflix zombie world. We've got to stay in that, hey, set a plan, make sure you've got an idea about where you want to go. And even, I think, John, one of the things that's really helped me personally is to have a plan every day. Have a key outcome that you want to achieve every day, no matter whether it's large or small, and just make sure that you're ticking those boxes off. Because at the end of the day, I can certainly understand the sitting there at night going, what have I done with my day? What have I achieved? What have I actually done with it is a really, really tough thing, and especially if it rolls on day after day. So just by taking control and setting yourself an accomplishment for the day, I'm going to make sure I get that particular aspect done, do it, and make sure that you recognize that actually today was an achievement by doing that. And I think that really helps summarize those 3 key areas.
Yeah, 100%. I think if we think about the poor businesses that can't,
yes,
if we think about the businesses that can't work at the moment, I think a really strong thing is don't underestimate the power of branding. Don't underestimate the power of making yourself known. So if you do just 2 things, if you can't do your normal job, if you're just surviving on the payments that you're being given to survive, you can't do anything else, then there's 2 things that I think you should focus on, where systems and mindset, and I keep missing that middle one,
skill set.
all work together. And that is, your 1 hour of phone calls. So you're reaching out and staying connected with people, because even conversations like this, me talking with you in this scenario, to make me feel better about myself, it's giving me things to think about. It's giving me a purpose. It's working. The other thing is you spend an hour creating content. Now, here's the thing. You got to get your bad videos out of the way before you can do your good ones.
Love it.
If you spend an hour creating content, you're covering 2 bases and posting it. You got to post it. No use making content if you don't post it. 2 things are going to happen. You're building your network on your one-to-ones with your phone calls, and then you're building awareness of you for your half-step-away market, who are watching your content and getting to know you as a person online and what you do, and talking about your challenges, and be human. Talk about your business. Talk about what's going to happen or what you want to do when you open up. Put it out there to the universe so that when you can actually take action and get back to work, your network's primed up and knows about you. You're top of their mind. And you're building a community of new awareness using social media and content. And pretty soon, the people who are your audience here start filtering their way into your list of networked people that you need to call. And that's how business starts to work, right?
Love it, mate. Yep, that's so good. Okay, well, I reckon today we've covered, and I totally appreciate that a lot of people are really struggling around that COVID space, and I hope just by having that discussion today, we've given people some real ideas and some plans and some steps that they can take that actually helps them finish off this COVID lockdown period in a really positive way. I know this is, as we're getting longer and longer in the tooth, that people are really struggling with it, and I know that a whole emotional, those feelings are really starting to have a hold on our results and what we're doing. So just to be able to get ourselves to take a step back, focus on mindset, skill set, and our systems within our business and our environments, and then really make sure that we've got a clearer plan for what our businesses are going to look like when we come out of this. So, hey, I think those should be able to give people some really great help, John, your insights and your just the ability for you to be able to cut through all that noise and to give us some clarity around some of that stuff is fantastic. So thanks, mate, for the chat. And I just wanted to quickly say I think the next topic that we've got, I think, is going to be really, really interesting for our listeners as well, is going to be around our customer. And I know you and we talk often about customers and the different shapes and the different styles and the different way we interact and grow customer bases. And I think for our next topic, that is one that is going to be, again, really, really important for listeners to have a listen to and get some ideas about how to understand their customer and to engage and interact with them.
Well, customers are coming out of this whole scenario with a different set of powers.
Yep.
But, totally. I think you underestimate your own input to this, Darren. You're an expert in what you do. And, I don't think either of us profess to have all the answers. I don't think we profess that we can save everybody, but we're trying and we're hoping that we can help everyone who needs the help. I think, that's the best we can do. We're not here to say that we're the gospel or anything like that, but just by sharing our ideas, we hope that we can reach and help and allow people to get through this tough time.
You bet. All right, mate. Thank you so much. Great to catch up with you, and we'll see you real shortly in episode 2.
Peace.
See you, mate.